Okay, I'm gonna call the Lewiston Public Works Advisory Commission to order. It is April 16th at noon. Do we have any citizen comments, either here in person or emailed comments?
No, we do not.
None we got. At this point, if I could get a motion, no, I can't even do that. I need to move it out of order. We're going to move the director's report up before the consent items so that we have a quorum in order to vote on the consent agendas.
Perfect. Do we need one more for a quorum?
Yes.
Just so I will talk until somebody walks in the room and then we'll have a quorum. So going down through the director's report, I think we have, before the meeting started, talking about the Main Street project. So the Main Street project right now is consuming the bulk of my time. We had an open house last night up in the orchards. We have one more downtown at the community center, trying to advertise those as best we can. You know, we've had, I knew you were gonna ask that. It's first week of May.
Okay, I'll watch for it.
Yeah. And we've had increasing turnout, but still not what I would consider great turnout. I'm trying to do what we can through social media, newspaper. There is a citizens group that's privately funded that's advocating for it, that's aligned through the chamber. So they're doing their events and doing their own advertisement. I think I'm doing probably on average about two speaking engagements a week right now to different groups. I'm running out of an audience. We're almost exactly a month out from the bond election. So, I mean, looking to this group, I've got a sewing group, I've got a church group, I've got some and I think another Rotary, Elks, and those clubs. What else was there? Anyway, if there's any other groups that you can think of that would be interested to hear me spiel, I can bring the prepackaged PowerPoint, or it can be a coffee club and we just sit around and shotgun questions. But, you know, that's kind of where we're at. The project itself has kind of closed in the design component right now. We're not, you know, the design, we've pushed the concept design as far as it can go, really. We don't really, if the bond doesn't pass, we don't want to spend more money on engineering that doesn't really go anywhere at this point. So there's no new engineering update. It's all public engagement and getting the word out of what we're actually trying to do. There's been a lot of conversation, and particularly last night with the Orchards group, that not fans of roundabouts. And so we learned early on in the process, because designing it, there was last night really demonstrated there's the downtown property owners, or not business owners, who want to see traffic slowed. They want to see two-way traffic return. The best way to, a good way to facilitate two-way traffic downtown is to put roundabouts. It can function with signals. It can obviously continue to function the way it is functioning now. And kind of pulling back, not making this bond about traffic and roundabouts, but more about making the driving home the importance of the underground utilities. Water replacement, sewer replacement, stormwater replacement, conduit for fiber internet. Those are all the things that the community as a whole would get benefit out of, no matter which way you're traveling or what speed you're traveling or anything like that. And so, and you know, to kind of further drive that point home, ITD, which First Street right outside this door. So the bypass is ITD right of way and jurisdiction. So First Street or D Street and then First Street onto the Blue Bridge is ITD right of way. And they don't allow roundabouts on state highways. And so as it is structured today, we wouldn't get access, or we wouldn't be allowed to have a roundabout on any of those areas. And those are the areas that we would need to have a roundabout. So it's kind of an issue that, as I told the group last night, it pencils out basically pretty dang close. Whether you put signal, you can put it all right back. You can put roundabouts, you can put signals. It's kind of a wash on the pavement and construction of roundabouts versus signals. And so let's make this bond more specifically about what the driver is, which is the pipes. And then as we go through final design, because we're at 10-20% design, to get to 100%, all these details will be vetted out during that process. So, and I'm meeting with ITD tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get any updates on that tomorrow, but I may get more information about where ITD is going on those roundabouts. But for the time being, I just don't want this bond to be about roundabouts. It's the importance of the pipes.
It is so hard over the years recalling. It is so hard to make infrastructure sexy and exciting. And it's because they don't see it. So it is so hard to get people excited about it because it's out of sight, out of mind. They see traffic,
Yes.
so that they can
yes,
grasp, and so
yes.
and it's funny, they latch on to that, having gone through this in another city and trying to do the bonds and everything, trying to do this. And it is so hard. It's because they can't see it, so it doesn't affect them really.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And this project is, my PowerPoint presentation's 20 slides now, and there's so much nuance to the construction methods, to financing and ballot language and all these things. And they said, well, I thought you said, and we've got ARPA money. And so thought you said that, but what about this? And trying to be, and again, my life and job is boring and I just embrace that. But it is hard to explain all of these little details and how we've built this machine that, or, concept for the design of like, this is what, in our opinion, the city and our consultants and feedback from the citizens and the council, this we think will work. And henceforth vote for it or not, and then we'll go from there.
We only had one picture of a redwood pipe in the old 150 whatever, year old city. And they had there was an actual redwood pipe and it was still working.
Oh, wow.
And it was still functioning,
Yep.
barely, but it was still sort of a picture of it. That was the only picture. They're like, you're lying. That's not down there. They're like, swear to God, this pipe is actually down there.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing that
Yeah.
kind of finally convinced everybody. It's hard. You're in a very tough position.
It is a relief. I mean, and even those last night who left, who said they would not support it, still said they would support the pipes. And so and that's been the interesting sell of early on, a lot of the pictures of the broken pipes and a lot of, full sewer pipe and flooding stormwater. They're like, okay, yeah, I got it. I get it. And then you go on into how it's designed, how it's financed, and then they're like, yeah, I don't support that. So I have had challenges where they don't believe you that the pipe is full, but that one, I think pretty much that message has gotten out there.
You have like a 1 page or a 1 paragraph type of a blurb that can go into newsletters, because we could.
Yeah, we've got.
I'm getting that to different businesses.
Yeah, so we've got a trifold and we've got postcards that will be going out over the next month that are just simple, straightforward messages of that.
Place where I work has a weekly newsletter and something like that could probably be attached to it.
Yeah, and we've been, places like Valley Vision and the Chamber they have a newsletter themselves, and so they've been collecting information and sharing that too with their subscribers. And so I don't know, I haven't seen the Valley Vision one. I've met with them and given them the information, but yeah, we're trying to get a lot of those simple messages just out. And some of the audience, the QR codes and the Facebook and the Instagram, they don't want that, but it's available. That stuff is out there.
Like Carol Mallon would probably have some of that too, if you wanted to go to.
Yeah, at 2 today, I'm gonna go do my PowerPoint presentation and just on the computer and my voice over the presentation, and then we'll put that on YouTube. So it'll be easily shareable. So even if you can't make it to any of these events, you can at least watch the presentation and pick out the parts that you have questions about. So that's the next step.
Now, are you needing us to go to like your Rotary meetings or anything else like that?
Right now, I don't think so. It's been, when we go, it's usually me and the mayor, and I open up with the boring pipes, and then the mayor gives his message of why it's important to, and the electeds can speak differently than I can. I'm city staff, I
That's
can't
right.
advocate. And so I just talk about the pipes. Then the mayor can speak, and then Linnea from the chamber can talk about it. It has been talking about it from the business perspective, and that's been working fine as far as I'm aware to this point.
Well, if you think you ever need me, just.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate last night. I mean, the mayor's been out of town this week, and so appreciated. We had four counselors last night, and Kleberg spoke about, because there were some questions about the history of Bryden, so that was good.
He brings a long history.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So now that we have a quorum, I'll go through the rest of the list here. 17th Street sidewalk infill. That's the stuff in front of Jennifer that was paid for by a grant. They paved Monday, so that project hopefully will be done by the end of the week. So if you've seen that on 17th as you drive up the hill or down the hill, we've had 2 lanes closed for almost a month now. So that's a good, I mean, those are the types of projects that we appreciate. That's, TAP fund, so Transportation Alternative Program, brought in a contractor. That was it's sidewalk in front of Jennifer. So it's not like anybody's gonna argue that it's not necessary. And 17th is a very busy street. And so, a very well-deserving project, and the problem is for us to go through and do those in-house. The project was $536,000. You look at that, that's a lot of sidewalk, but
It's not that much. It's a lot of money.
It wasn't just the sidewalk, though. It was tree removal.
Yep.
It was shoring up the community property, the property. So there was
there was
the
retaining
retaining walls and all
yep.
those other things. So
Yep.
there was a lot more involved than just sidewalk. That was-
yeah.
That was
Yep.
massive.
And that's what we find. We did another one at Centennial last year. I can't remember which elementary school it was, but we did another one probably 2 years ago. And it was not as a busy street, but it's the same deal. A lot of these, if it was an easy sidewalk, they probably would have built it by now. And so you get these where you get lots that are, 4 feet above where the sidewalk would be. So then you're putting in retaining walls and, the property, it is right away, but the property owners feel that it's theirs. And so you try and work with them to make it function for everybody's driveway and everything else. So, but these grants typically, like this one, they paid for it. And so, very appreciative of those opportunities. The next one, so we're closing that one out, moving out on 12th Street sidewalk. So this is up in front of the school district offices. So 12th Street that comes into the roundabout there on Warner. So you get the bus barn and the city service center, but going basically straight, it'd be south out of Warner. We've gotten, there's, what is that elementary school there? Way out on Thane. Is that Orchards Elementary?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that elementary connecting to Warner to the high school. There's a lot of families that walk either going to the elementary school or going to the high school. So that was flagged early on. And so we had that designed in-house. This was paid for by TIA, mostly TIA, traffic impact, because that's, a lot of those newer subdivisions are out there on Warner. And so we finally got it designed and got it bid. And so that one will be starting, I think, in what month are we in? April, so next month, probably May. So more sidewalk projects, and hopefully the public and this board will start seeing the emphasis for these sidewalk infill projects are to connect schools and commercial nodes and neighborhoods. So the intent is not to put sidewalks that nobody are going to use. The intent is to connect particularly, childhood pedestrians, which are school kids going to school or going home. So
And that was something that Jessica Klein brought up at that one meeting. So
yep.
that's fulfilling that.
About to say it, I just pulled it up, then you said it, so okay.
So be ready, 2025 street preservation, so fog coats, chip seals, all those types of things. We're running into some issues these days where we have sub-base issues where we have to do what's called quality patching because the road is settled in a particular spot. So we have to dig that up, patch it, bring it back up, and then chip seal it, which costs more money. And so it's not just go through and chip seal it. So we're not getting, well, one, between the cost of oil and material, labor, and then having to do quality patching. We're not getting as much as we did in previous years. I don't have an answer for that. I mean, some of this stuff is you maintain the good roads and you reconstruct the old roads. And so you want to keep your good roads in good condition so you don't have to reconstruct them, because that's, once you've lost the road, it's gone and you have to go back and reconstruct it. And that's a significant investment. So the emphasis is to preserve the roads that you have. So people love this time of year. It's usually late August. It's 110 degrees because that's when the oil sticks best, and it's hot, it's dirty, and people block their driveways. They've been working all day and we do our best to communicate. So this is just part of keeping up with the road network and taking care of it. One last final project update. So next Monday, this is kind of part of the Main Street project. So when we did the Main Street project, the ARPA dollars are driving the project. But we knew the Main Street or the downtown infrastructure project would not be finished or would not be completed or under construction in time to utilize the ARPA dollars. So what we did is we did what do they call it? CMGC contract, where we reached out to a general contractor. We did a base bid, and then we did two different alternates. One alternate is if the bond fails, then we just go right down Main Street and do the water as far as we can go. We can't get it all, but we can get half or 2/3 of the water on Main Street done, which is better than nothing. The alternate, if the Main Street bond does pass, we'll do all the side streets and use up the ARPA dollars in the downtown, and then use ratepayer money and bond money on Main Street for all, then we'll replace all of the water. And so this base bid, not the alternates, is the base bid is, it needed to be done regardless of the Main Street. And it is D Street, which is right out in front of this building here, and 3rd. So that project will start Monday. It's not nearly as impactful as like a Main Street construction. The one, there's a valve right there by Morgan's Alley that the only service on it is the YWCA. So trying to communicate to them that they'll be out of water for a minute if the valve holds. Again, old water lines downtown, you close the valve and you hope it shuts the main off so then you can work on it. If that valve does not close, then we go down to 5th. And then we have, the coffee shop and Bojack, all of those impacted. So fingers crossed that when we seat that valve, it shuts the water off from 1910. So we'll see how good the quality of the pipe is from 1910. So, but yeah, I kind of want to get the word out that, because people are, you're talking about this bond for water on Main Street, but you're already doing the job. This is ARPA money that, regardless of the results of the bond, this was going to be tabbed to go. So you'll see that going Monday.
Is that with the bond getting approved, will that also replace the reservoir that connects?
Not the reservoirs, no, just it will finish that pipeline from the reservoirs, but it won't touch the reservoirs.
Is there concern with having higher flow pipes in the reservoirs being able to stand?
No. No.
Someone asked me that.
Yeah, no, that'd be a good conversation later. But yes, the reservoirs are all 100 years old, built in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
The transmission line that feeds those reservoirs is in a condition that needs to be replaced. So we've replaced the water treatment plant. We are in the process of replacing the intake out of the clear water. But the next big priority will be that transmission line coming out of the water treatment plant, and then the 2 high and low reservoirs. And those are $20 million a pop.
Mhm.
So.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any more updates?
Not now.
Okay. All right, then we're gonna move back to item 2 on our consent agenda, item number 3. So these are items on our consent agenda considered by routine for the commission and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on this item unless a commissioner so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and moved under items moved from the consent agenda. Is there anything you'd like to?
You
Yes.
still have to call to order. I don't know that it matters, but
What you did,
I called to order at the
Okay.
beginning, but I can recall again. But
I just didn't know if we could make a motion because we didn't have a quorum, so we were holding off on
You
stuff, so.
technically can't call to order without a quorum either.
okay,
So we can redo it. Sorry, my apologies.
so we will call the meeting to order for the Lewiston Public Works Advisory Commission, backing up to item number 1. And on April 16th. So we have quorum here. We've already gone through citizen comments. There were none. And so now we're on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
So it's either, either motion to approve or if there's a motion to have an item removed.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All good? I didn't hear. Good?
Yeah.
Okay. We've already had the director's report, active agenda items, the advisory board, commission, and periodic review. Update the commission structure and purpose following the city council's consideration for the periodic review and report. Thank you for sending out the YouTube items so that we could see what the review was from the mayor's office. So thank you very much. And so you're at that item.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I will throw my name or out for the group here. I would interested to see the conversation that was had at council. I missed last month's because I was actually speaking on the Main Street bond. I don't know how to, I've struggled with this group in trying to maximize everybody's time and effort and at the same time, utilizing Haley in our efforts here to make sure that we're getting what we need. And I guess my biggest thing is so much of what we do in public works is, it just moves at a pace that's difficult to bring something to you in 1 month, get results, or have you consider something, we talk about it, and then the next month come back and have resolution, and then we can implement it. Some of those things are easier, the transportation plan, the budget, some of these long-range goals. And so I guess that's where, I would like to try and steer us more in that direction. I do appreciate, giving the director's report and being able to share with you, boom, 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 here's, like I just did, these are the projects that we're doing. I don't know, I mean, it's good to have you understand what we're doing and be able to ask questions that maybe I'm not thinking of. But I don't know, is that something, I mean, I think it's a benefit to everybody, but it's not gonna change anything that we're gonna do at the city. I mean, other than maybe, hey, did you notify this person on the street preservation or something?
But I think that we, as a group, we have that information, people talk to us,
Yep.
and we can answer it.
Yep, the other thing is, this, I mean, we talk about the schedule and we have it at lunch, so everybody can kind of take a break and come here at lunchtime, evening time. I was hoping for more public participation and I don't know how best to engage that. We've had some vacancies on this board. We've had no vacancies on this board, but I think we do have a good board makeup of, a mix of technical people, mix of counselors. I think the conversation that we generate is good. I'm just, I think, we've talking with the mayor and the clerk, in some of the counselors that, maybe stepping back into that quarterly meeting and, providing you a packet well in advance. There's some engineering standards to discuss. There's some, like the CIP, there's some things like that we can give you that you can do away from this meeting, provide comment once we get here. And then as a group, we can, as we provide you the packet, say, here's 4 questions that we would appreciate feedback on specific to this issue. And so we can work our way through that process. And so, that way we won't feel like we're up against the clock all the time or that we're flinging things up in front of you because we have another scheduled meeting this month. So, I guess I throw that out from my perspective, but I'd like to get a little feedback from the group as to, one, how can we do better? And is there something that you guys see that we're not covering now that we could do?
So if I may, I I like the quarterly, and I think that that's going to give us homework that we can do and then provide it in the timely manner instead of always being behind.
Yeah, and I think the one thing with the quarterly is there should be an expectation that as we ramp up for budget, there will be special meetings monthly. And then a budget gets adopted, we don't have it for a quarter, then we come back and we're right into CIP, transportation CIP. And, then we don't have a December meeting because it's Christmas, things like that, that.
Yeah, so I think that's a good way to start looking at that.
I'd agree with that too. It doesn't ever seem like we've really had a lot of purpose. I know we've provided some input before on like traffic calming and other things, and I haven't really seen anything returned out of that.
Yeah.
And so it'd be nice to have more of a working session or just the questions you want input on.
Yep.
Instead of us just giving unsolicited advice and then going wherever, so.
I love it, and I get a lot of it. And this group is actually more constructive than you may think, but yeah, it's hard, because I'm more of a technical staff person, and so a lot of what I'm driven by is the MUTCD, standards and design standards, and so I'm oftentimes struggling it's the messaging, I think, is where I'm looking for support.
Well, I was a little taken back by the quarterly meetings. I was going to pull the item for changing of bylaws till we discussed the other, but I was seeing if the group wanted anything else, and I see that nobody else wanted it pulled. Based on our discussion last month and items we wanted to see and to feel like we were, I will wait and see how the quarterly kind of goes and see if we are not behind again. I felt we had been doing some really productive and having some really good items and stuff. But then, there was a few months, nothing, we haven't met or anything like that. And the last, the meeting before and this one, and now we won't be meeting for another quarter. So we'll probably be behind for a while because we won't be meeting in between during this whole period. So I'm gonna be kind of on the wait and see, because right now, I wasn't expecting that. And I wish we had had a conversation first before the bylaws and everything went through. So I guess we'll see what happens in 3 months after this meeting is over, and we'll see how things go, I guess, after the bond is passed.
I apologize. I looked and the agenda sheet for this item did not make it into the packet. But it provided kind of an overview, so I will send that to you guys once we're done. But we will still be meeting in May to go over your first assignment, basically, which I think internally we've kind of proposed as the engineering standards and development update for code that Luke's been working on.
So we are meeting in May.
Yes, but after that, it'll be quarterly.
Is the May meeting gonna be in the evening or still at noon?
So everyone voted for noon still. It was a tie between Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'll probably send out a thing to you guys again to see between those 2 days what works best before we get anything scheduled, so we don't have to.
I'll say Thursdays won't, wait, at noon, never mind, just kidding. I was thinking 5 because my son has karate, but we're good. Like Thursdays won't work for me. Yes, it will. I knew. The buying, when we talked about the quarterly, that was part of kind of, if I'm correct, that was kind of came out of the initiative of the review, right? And basically trying to make sure that we're showing the mayor that this is a productive committee, that we are making.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember. Was it, somebody brought up the more of, because what we, and I can say it from, well, public works in general is reactionary. I mean, a lot of times we get an issue, we approach it. And so trying to be more proactive. And so by being more proactive and saying, here's a policy, introduce it, take it home and read it, provide comment. You can email comments to Haley. Then we bundle all that stuff and then we discuss the comments at the meeting. And we have done that. I think we did that on the traffic calming and a couple other measures. And so using that model to kind of follow that more directly of, using that. Compiling all that information takes time, and so to try and do that on a monthly basis is probably not realistic for staff to get all that put together, so.
Yeah, I thought it was staff
Yeah,
really staff.
yeah, a
driven.
lot of that is just the, it's really just me and Haley, or I shouldn't even say me. It's mostly Haley putting all this stuff together, and so we get pulled in a lot of directions right now, and so if we have the instead of 3 meetings in 3 months, we have 1 meeting each month, that gives us the opportunity to compile all this stuff, send it out, gives you more time to review it, provide comment, and then more productive meetings. And so, that those issue, whether it's a policy or design standards or whatever, it's like, we're currently here's one that we're wrapping up, here's one that we're being introduced to, and here's one that we're currently discussing today. So the process will be a little bit more tedious or slow, but it's bigger issues that actually need to be resolved. There's a handful of policies that Public Works has been sitting on for years that need, design standards. We're now into our 3rd city engineer who's been dealing with, this goes back to Sean Stubers, who started this. And so we need to get this done. And so this is just an opportunity of like, we're gonna introduce it to the Public Works Advisory Council, then did it to council or city council for adoption. And this is just a good measure to start that clock moving forward.
So how much time will the committee have before it gets presented to council?
For
review.
designs, I mean, it depends. If there's significant change and you guys are like, this is not great, we need to go back and do some rewrites. It could be months and that's the thing.
So we're not relying on a specific date to bring it to council?
No. So the design standards, they're pretty, I mean, I don't know that this group will have a lot of, some of those who have experience in public works may be like, this doesn't speak to me, but generally, I don't know that the council members, how interested are you on a manhole detail? I mean, kind of thing, but it gives you a little background of what we do. But they're already been written many years ago by a consulting engineering firm. So we're just cleaning them up, updating them where it's needed. And then we're putting them out for public comment. So we'll put it for this board. You guys will be looking at it. And at the same time, we'll put them out for public comment. No, again, your typical resident of Lewiston is not gonna be looking at this going, oh yeah, I don't like that manhole, but it's the contractors and engineers, but that's the process. And so then we'll come back. We probably will have another meeting before that because I don't want to sit out there for 3 months, but we'll have that meeting. You'll forward recommendations to staff. Staff will accept or not accept those changes. Then we'll get it in front of the city council for adoption by resolution. So that would be kind of a typical process of how we would do that. It may, like the snow routes that we've discussed, take a while to get through. Some of them, like these design standards, I want to get them done. So it'll be a little bit more accelerated.
I would suggest too, if it ends up being that this board brings certain feedback, that when that gets presented to council, even if you guys really weren't on the board of it, that all of it is presented. So that way the council is aware, like, this is what the board's direction was.
That's a good concept, because like, say example, the design standards, we get public comment from people, want to make sure that's included with anything that we ask for adoption, and then any minutes, probably any minutes from this board regarding that would be included in that.
Which we'll have to it won't be probably discussed as much in the meeting, but whatever
Yeah.
emails that
Yep.
she's getting kind of things.
Any other comments? Okay. All right, next item, moved items from the consent agenda. We did not have any. So we're on to unfinished and new business. Commissioner comments should be not related to an item currently before the commission or an item that may come before the commission in the foreseeable future and should be limited to comments, not discussion. Any comments at this point? No? Okay. Staff liaison comments.
Done a lot of talking already. I would invite this group to our next Main Street. And we can email you the dates.
That'd be great.
It's first week of May, at the community center.
Did we have that already on the city website?
Yeah,
It's interesting, I have not seen, I saw one of the meetings that you talked about, I think, but the other ones I did not see, so.
yeah. The first one was not advertised. I mean, it was we said we were having it when we rolled out, when we, the council voted for the ballot. We had the date set, but it was not advertised.
Right.
The second one was advertised, but I don't know.
And that was last night.
That was last night. So
There's
the,
quite a bit of people, sorry.
it was 25 people there.
Totally twice as much as what was here.
Yeah.
Any comments for us?
No, I apologize, I didn't hit a button, so that's why that sheet wasn't in your packet. I apologize, but I will send out a little blurb after the meeting, so you have the full idea of what we're going into starting in May.
Okey-dokey. All right, we have the last item, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Hi.
All right, we are adjourned until May.
Yeah.
That's great.
I totally honestly mixed the dates and I was like,